Hi, beautiful people. How are you? I hope you're having a great day. We're having a heat wave in the Northeast, so I'm really glad that we finished our stonework in the front yard when we did, because even our dogs don't want to go outside in this. I mean, it's in the 90s, but in Indiana, it gets really humid and the pollen count gets terrible. They're calling it a tropical depression, a severe heat advisory. So I guess summer has officially arrived. On painscale.com, the writer, who isn't stated, wrote 5 things to avoid when you have fibromyalgia. The sources were from Mayo Clinic, WebMed, Everyday Health, and Medline Plus, all sites that I love to visit. So I was very inquisitive and wanted to also share what they stated. It does say for healthcare professionals, but we're all extremely knowledgeable about fibromyalgia because we have to be, and can use our own best judgment as to the validity of this information. So today, we're going to talk about saying yes too often, ignoring pain, eating excessive sugar, and not getting enough sleep. Here we go. Let's begin with what fibromyalgia is. Fibromyalgia is a chronic, widespread musculoskeletal pain disease that includes fatigue, sleep, memory, and cognitive issues, along with stiff muscles. And of course, pain is the main symptom. Widespread pain involves pain all over, including above and below the waist and the trunk area. Millions of Americans are affected worldwide, and although it usually occurs around age 50, it can begin at any age, including in children. There's tenderness to touch, and soft tissues are also affected. Stress, immune issues, endocrine or biochemical problems, along with neurotransmitter issues, are linked to fibro. But then these are just the tip of the iceberg. Please see my other videos if you want to learn more. Headaches and migraines are common, and people may also experience pain in the face or jaw, such as TMJ. Digestive problems are also common, including IBS. Some may experience depression or anxiety, but this is not a psychological disorder. Fibro is a medical disease. Tingling or numbness in the hands and feet are also common, called paresthesias. And so neuropathy is also common in fibro. About 45% of people with fibromyalgia have small fiber neuropathy. That's huge, since this is normally the other way around. This has led some researchers to believe that fibro is a neuropathic pain disorder or a neurologic pain disorder. About 30 to 40% of people with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's disease have fibro, but maybe higher than that. But this isn't uncommon because people with autoimmune conditions are highly likely to develop fibromyalgia. Did your fibromyalgia begin with an autoimmune condition? It's common for people with fibro to also have osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or lupus. RA and lupus usually begin first, then fibro. There are some triggers and risk factors that are considered as to how you'll develop fibromyalgia. Stress, traumatic events, accidents, or injuries, repeated injuries such as joint stress from sports or physical jobs, or illnesses, including viral infections. But common risk factors are for those who are between the age of 30 to 50, female, people with related conditions like lupus, RA, or osteoarthritis, and people with a family history of fibromyalgia. Symptoms usually come on slowly and worsen over time, but usually without intervention. We need regular movement with fibromyalgia, mild, moderate, light exercise that you can build upon over time to determine what works for you, like swimming, walking, or biking. But excessive physical activity should be avoided. Why? Research shows that overexertion fatigue can result, and then that results in a lack of adequate activity for several days later. What should you do then? Well, you got to figure out how much is enough by going until you're tired, but exhilarated, not exhausted. The following day should be at least as good as the day before. I've overdone it many times and ended up with a flare. Now I try to listen to my body and stop before it becomes too much. Research has been telling us for a few decades now to exercise. I remember after getting fibromyalgia and being in so much pain and fatigue that I thought these researchers were nuts and uncaring. I feel bad for thinking that way now, but also for the years that I wasted not moving. Once my determination led myself to get moving, it took me a few years to figure out how much I could do. And then I still messed up often. And honestly, I built up my ability to handle more. But you have to do this slowly. Low intensity is key for most of us. Some of you may be able to lift weights, and I find that absolutely horrific. I'd rather swim, mop my floors, or paint my walls than do that. And painting is very painful. I think that I feel like I can stop any time with the other activities. There was one time when I was getting physical therapy. A well-intentioned physical therapist had me lifting weights up over my head, and I was almost in tears. I wanted to drop the weights on the floor and then leave because she upset me so much because she didn't listen to me. But I think I'm too proud to do that. And I just did what I could until I was shaking, but never ever again. I didn't go back there. I do what I can on my own terms now. End of story. Can you all relate? Some of you may have thought that when I was using the shovel outside to dig the trench around the front of my house and around the side yard was a crazy thing to do. And maybe it would have been back in the day, but I did what I could as I felt I could. Took me several months to finish that trench, which probably would have taken my husband a couple of days. But it was my choice to do that. If anyone or anything takes away our ability to have a choice, our autonomy, it feels like a reward that we would have received is being taken away. And we never want to repeat that process again or feel that experience again. We seek a healthy quality of life, including our mental health. And we may already feel like our autonomy has been stolen from us. So, beautiful people, take it back. Take your autonomy back. It's your choice. You can choose not to do too much, and you can choose how much you will do. That's empowering. Another empowering thing is to know when to say no and then actually do it. We're often kind-hearted and sensitive. We're often too agreeable to do things we really don't want to do, which puts major stress on us. This will aggravate our fibromyalgia symptoms. I think if you've had fibromyalgia for a while, people probably aren't asking you things that you don't want to do or that they know you're unable to do. They just aren't. Family and friends have learned that our body gets overwhelmed easily. Hopefully, they didn't see it directly because you agreed to do something and then you had to go to the emergency room. That happened to me one time with my daughter. She was here one day helping me clean my house, getting ready for Thanksgiving. All of my family was coming over, and my house needed a deep clean. Well, I overdid it. I didn't say, no, I can't do that. I did it anyways, knowing full well it was going to hurt. And I ended up in the emergency room. That was years ago, before I had worked up to doing what I'm capable of today. And at the time I was still working. Honestly, now that I'm retired, I can clean throughout the week, taking lots of breaks and be able to get it done, what I need to do. But that was a different season of my life. Can anyone relate? I was not giving up hosting our family event, but I should have let my daughter know how I was feeling and let her do more. And I also should have taken more breaks. I just was trying to barrel through it. Anybody else ever done that? We live and learn, don't we? Now I clean for 30 minutes or so, and then I rest 15 to 30 minutes. I mean, if you look at me, I look fine. You can't see that I have a disability. Fortunately, I have a family who cares. But many people with fibromyalgia feel like no one really understands them, what their illness is all about, and how it feels to live with fibromyalgia. But it's pretty difficult for other people to know that because they don't live it. And that includes friends and our doctors. You'd think people would know more about it. There's 10 million Americans and 3 to 6% of the world's population living with it. So if you're here, you're not alone. So say no when you need to. It's okay. It's about balance. Just don't give up on everything that you love, and don't stop socializing. Those things are important, but balance is key. I know I have projects that I put in my head that need to get done, but I'm learning slowly to take it slowly. So that story about cleaning my house with my daughter and having to go to the emergency room, well, if I had listened to my body, I wouldn't have been in so much pain. Stop doing what you're doing, Pam. When you start to feel pain, just stop. That's what I tell myself now, because it's not worth it. Our pain is real, not imagined. And pain is the way our body communicates with us that something is wrong and requires attention. So don't try to block the pain by continuing activity. That's not advised. Don't ignore increased pain because that causes more harm than good. And don't participate in activities when pain is high, because this will likely cause additional days of increased pain levels. If you've had fibromyalgia for a while, you know those things are true. But I went through this really weird phase and I thought, it's just pain. And I hurt for no reason. So I can just do what I want because I'm going to hurt anyways. That's how I ended up in the emergency room. Dismissing my pain was the worst thing I could have done. It may seem ridiculous, but I was so tired of feeling like I was unable to get things done. that I pushed myself beyond my limits. Don't do that, beautiful people. In a journal article from 2016, participants expressed that overdoing it led to fibro symptoms worsening. Participants stated that the following will result in a flare. Stress, stress, stress. This is from work and just life. Overdoing it. Poor sleep. Weather changes. We've definitely discussed this in the past. So, different events in life, like preparing for travel, family concerns, grief, and holiday stress can increase pain. So, definitely pay attention to what is happening in your body. Eating excessive sugar. Oh, my word. This was me. Sugar, sugar, sugar. I mean, I lived for it. I thought of it constantly. I thought sugar was my best friend. And it turned out that sugar was my worst enemy. Sugar increases inflammation. So let's talk about that. A healthy diet is key to our management success. We talked about that too. I've mentioned my issues with having prediabetes. I'm quite sure that my antics of my younger years led to my prediabetes issues. My A1C level will sometimes fall in the normal range and then go back up without warning. And I have trouble figuring out what causes it. I don't eat sugar and I keep my carbs low. At least I try to. So it confuses me. I mean, we don't eat fast food or high carbohydrate foods. Statistics say that prediabetes is common. Researchers estimate that 84 million Americans in the United States have prediabetes, and it affects more than 1 in 3 adults under age 65. Wow. And half of people over 65 in the US. More than 80% of people with prediabetes don't know they have it since it has no symptoms. So this is why it's important to see your primary care doctor regularly so they can do screenings like a basic metabolic panel to check blood sugar levels. This is the only way to know if you have prediabetes. There are a few symptoms that a few people with prediabetes may experience, and these include darkened skin in your armpit or back and sides of your neck, skin tags, changes that can lead to diabetes-related retinopathy. The cause of prediabetes is the same as the cause of type 2 diabetes, mainly insulin resistance. We talked about that too. Insulin resistance occurs when cells in your muscles, fat, and liver don't respond as they should to insulin. Insulin is a hormone your pancreas makes and is essential for life and regulating blood sugar levels. When you don't have enough insulin or your body doesn't respond properly to it, you experience elevated blood sugar levels. Some factors that can contribute to insulin resistance are the following: genetics, excess body fat, especially in the belly and around the organs, physical inactivity, eating highly processed, high carbohydrate foods, and saturated fats. Certain medications like long-term steroid use, hormonal disorders like hypothyroidism and Cushing's syndrome, chronic stress, and a lack of quality sleep contributes to prediabetes. But there are risk factors too. These include a family history of type 2 diabetes, like a parent or sibling, being overweight or obese, and not being active at least 3 times a week, being 45 or older, smoking, and obstructive sleep apnea. And that one I found to be really interesting since I had that. Or if you've had gestational diabetes or polycystic ovarian syndrome. We can't change things like age or family history, but we can quit smoking and become more physically active. Healthcare providers also say weight loss is important. If that's your issue, studies have shown that losing 7% of your weight can reduce the onset of type 2 diabetes by 58%. Wow. We know regular exercise or activity is important. We've been talking about that for a while. Just move. That's important. Changing our diet by cutting out added sugar, swapping simple carbohydrates for complex carbohydrates, and eating more veggies can help blood sugar levels return to healthy levels. Sometimes I don't think I eat enough veggies. It's also important to manage related conditions like high cholesterol and high blood pressure. When all else fails, your healthcare provider may recommend common medications prescribed for prediabetes, such as metformin or acarbose. Do you take any of those? Lastly, if you're not getting enough sleep, fatigue and an increase in pain can result. Proper sleep hygiene is especially important for individuals dealing with fibromyalgia. A lack of proper sleep can negatively affect the immune system, which can potentially lead to other medical conditions that may cause additional pain. So what should we do? Don't eat heavy meals, drink alcohol or caffeine before bedtime. Go to bed around the same time each night and get up at the same time each morning. Get out of bed if you're not asleep in 15 to 20 minutes. Walk around, move around, and then go back to bed. Exercise in the morning or afternoon, but any exercise should be completed at least a few hours before bedtime. And keep your bedroom dark and quiet. And I'd like to add to that, keep it cool. Just use a lot of blankets and a heater if you need to keep at least your lower body warm. So that was a lot, and I hope you learned something. Please share what you learned below, or if you have any suggestions or questions, please state those too. I appreciate you so much. I send you gentle hugs and support. Love you.